scene. Touchdown, time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, Philly time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What's going on, you guys? Brandon here with Philly the podcast, and we could call this Breakdown Monday. When we break down Sunday's games, I think the rest of our games are on Sunday anyways, so we can call this Breakdown Monday. And I got my boy Marcus and Swerve here. How's it going, guys?
Everything's great, even though we look like trash yesterday. I won't say last night, but yesterday. We gonna break it down.
Yeah, man. It's no sweat off my brow, man. You know what I'm saying? Like the loss, even though you lost to the Giants, it didn't bother me at all. But we'll get into it. We'll get into it in this time we're on here right now. So
yes, sir. So yeah, like you guys were just saying, we had that unfortunate loss yesterday. Not even just like a normal loss. It was ugly. Like we couldn't even put up 14 points, and that in itself is just sad. It's just It's mind-boggling. Like we have the players to do it. Shoot, if we would have just ran the ball the whole game, chances are we could score at least 2 touchdowns. So before we get into like specifics on the game and everything, if you guys want to go, whoever wants to just talk about your initial thoughts on yesterday's game.
Go ahead, Mark.
Black, okay? Well, my initial thought. You said it was ugly, and ugly is an understatement. And I feel like Sirianni literally forgot everything that got us to this point. The last 3 or 4 weeks, we've run the ball. And even though we had 38 attempts, like I'm not going to say the play calling was atrocious, but it was not far from atrocious because I just went and looked. We threw the ball 30-something times. We ran the ball 30-something times. The problem is in crucial moments, on 3rd and 2, he ran a slant, right? Then you come back. If you know you're going for it already, it's 3rd and 2. You know you're going for it. Why not hand the ball off 2 times? You're the number 2 rushing team in the league. The odds are in your favor with 2 downs that you can get 2 yards. You're running a slant like we have a marquee receiver and a marquee quarterback. We don't have Aaron Rodgers. We don't have Peyton Manning. We don't have Tom Brady. So if it's 3rd and 2, why are you calling a slant play when your bread and butter the last 4 weeks has been to run the ball? And we still ended up with over 200 yards of rushing. That's what I'm saying. Like, you ended up with over 200 yards of rushing, and you don't run the ball in critical situations. And I had a flashback to the Andy days. Where it's third and manageable. Like it's an ugly game. It's a really ugly game. That was an ugly game. But the difference is we watched the Ravens and Lamar Jackson struggle all night, and he still came through and pulled it out. We had the same opportunity, but our coach got too cute and went away from what has been working, and now we're going to have a completely different discussion than what the Ravens fans are having today. But that's for something later on in the show.
Yeah, so I'll pick up where he left off, right? The play sequencing was off. Like you said, you run for 8 yards on a first or a second down. You should, common logic would say run the ball again, right? And then off of that, guess what happens, right? Then you can set up your play action calls, right? But there was never a real intent to get Jalen into a rhythm during the game. It was just, okay, look, we know that Giants aren't great. We're going to keep trying to throw the ball. And then we'll come back to the run. Granted, yes, they still ran for 20 yards, but they did not get him into a rhythm. Why would you go away from something that's worked for you? Even though you won 3 out of the last 4, you still ran good the last 4 games. Why would you do that? And then
I have a question for you. Well, before not to cut you off. I had this thought. remember we beat Green Bay last year, and certain people weren't happy because we did not throw the ball enough. Are they weighing in and getting in Sirianni's ear? Like, it doesn't matter about the wins. They rather have gaudy numbers and pass the route because I apologize for cutting you off, but it just like this it wrecked my head. Like, they literally ran right and got 5-6 yards a pop with the quarterback. Hurts was getting 5-6 yards running right. And I'm sorry for cutting you off. I'm gonna let you speak. No. And then on 3rd and 2, you run a slant to Quez Watkins.
I think that it is a mixture of 3 things: the owner's wishes, the coach not really having a real. He's still in that spot where he did regress in play calling last week. However, or this past game, however, you have a thing where he thought that he let his ego drive the game plan, right, on offense. He did, right? And when his quarterback was struggling, he kept going to the things that his quarterback was struggling with. When we all know now that Jalen works better when you get him into a rhythm. You get him into the running game starts off, then he play off of that with the play action. And then it makes it to where he can drop back, and the things that you saw that he's learned over the last 4 or 5 weeks, stepping up into the pocket and then delivering the ball. But when you do not do that, it becomes a problem. And then that goes back to another thing. That segues into another issue. Our fans, and I'm just going to tell you the way it is. Our fans, and it's not just our fans. It's a generational thing and a culture thing. Everybody wants instant gratification. Everybody wants to microwave success, right? We all knew that this was going to be the case 5 or 6 months ago when we talked about this, that this team was going to have their ups, their peaks, and then we're going to have their valley. But we had to stay constant in your train of thought. But all we've seen these last 4 or 5 weeks is folks buy into this they can make the playoffs hype and not really take into account what this roster is and what this coaching staff is. So now you get what we saw last night after the game. Oh, Hurts isn't the guy, or Sirianni is this. No, man, they showed you who they were 5 weeks ago. Why are you not believing it? Stick to what you saw. Stick to what you thought originally. Stay with that. Don't flip flop. Stay with what you're thinking. So y'all.
Well, Hurts is here for at least another year. They're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm just,
I think we talked about it a little bit last week, Marcus and I. I mean, I think we both agree that Hurts should be here for another year. We should use those first-round picks to help build this team rather than spend them all on either trading for a quarterback or even trading up, because no matter what, it looks like Miami keeps getting some wins, the Colts keep getting some wins, and then we've gotten some wins, so we're not going to have that top 5 pick pretty much anymore. At least top 3, where like the best quarterbacks go sometimes.
And then it's a weak draft.
Go ahead.
And then the other thing is, right, and I'm sorry to cut you off, like the other thing is, right, now people are talking about Hurts, right? And the other part about it, when I ask the question is, what did the other 10 guys on the field with Hurts do? If you're saying Hurts is the sole problem, well, I know that two touchdowns took off the board by holding penalties, right?
Right. 3 got dropped.
Ward dropped the touchdown. Rieger had 2 drops, right? Then there was a fumble. Then there were missed blocking assignments. So you're telling me that it's one guy's problem when in general it is a team issue.
Right.
So
let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jalen threw interception at the end of the half, which was really poor clock management, right?
Yeah.
But What series was it that Ward dropped the touchdown pass?
It was second down. It was the second down.
Yeah, but it was that series, right? It
Right.
was that series.
Right.
So if Ward holds on to that ball, which I think was a perfectly thrown ball, I've been defending that pass all day. Greg, he threw it away. Greg Ward was on the outcut. He threw it to where only the receiver can
Threw
catch
it to the pylon where he should have.
I think he threw it where the receiver should have caught it. And that way the defender was on the tip. The defender could know you stretch out and you catch that ball. If Greg Ward catches that ball, guess who doesn't throw an interception later in that drive?
Hurts.
But those are the things that people don't comprehend it, because that it doesn't fit the narrative that they want to paint, instead of just looking at the entire circle. You see what I'm saying?
Another question for you, right? Boston Scott ran for a 17, I don't know how many yards. He ran for a touchdown and it was called back, right?
Right.
What happened? How did that drive in?
It ended in an interception, right? Did it not? Or was that a field goal drive or was that an interception drive? I think it was the field goal drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 4 more points. That's 4 more points we left on the board, right?
Right.
That's 4 more points. So we basically those two plays, those two sequences I just mentioned, that's 10 points.
Yeah, that's game.
That's 7 and 4. That's 11 points. You win the game. Like, I'm not going to beat Hurts up, because Hurts had a shitty first half. We can all agree Hurts had a shitty first half.
Right.
But Hurts came out and he played well enough for us to win that game. And that is the difference. Baltimore saying, here's the difference. Here's the difference. 90 minutes away. 90 minutes. Philadelphia is here. Baltimore is here, right? Here they're having a conversation that even with our franchise quarterback struggling, our offense stepped up and made enough plays because our defense held us in the game. Our defense stepped up and held us in the game, and our offense came through and made enough plays, right? That's what they're saying in Baltimore. In Philadelphia, our defense finally stepped up and held the Giants to 13 points. But guess what happened? Jalen Hurts struggled. Every quarterback has struggles. Jalen Hurts struggled yesterday, and our offense, no one else on the offense stepped up and helped make a play. And that's the difference. It's disgusting that they're putting all of this on Hurts, because every quarterback has every quarterback has had a horrible game. Lamar Jackson is an MVP talent, and he's had a horrible game. Aaron Rodgers is on my fantasy team. Aaron Rodgers stunk it up. Every quarterback's going to stink it up.
Between ththose guys and Hurts, though, is that they have the accolades so far, whereas people are at least comfortable with those quarterbacks, right? Like, they've won you something. They've gotten you far, whereas Hurts is new to us. Hurts is already coming into a situation that is low-key unfair to him, where he's coming off that whole Carson Wentz debacle. Man, that was our franchise quarterback, and we need somebody. We're thriving for that franchise quarterback now. And when we see a game like this, when we know we have the capital to do something next season, people are just, like you said, they're trying to microwave success when you can't do that. They want the instant gratification. They want Hurts to be on 1,000% every game. And I mean, just to keep going, Hurts has definitely, I want to say 70% of the blame on the offense yesterday, in my opinion. I know you said that throw was good. It was. In a sense, that's an NFL throw. That's an NFL catch. And the NFL wide receiver is supposed to make it. You could nitpick and say maybe he shouldn't have thrown a fastball right there where Greg Ward has to try to time that and catch it. But he is an NFL wide receiver and has made those catches before. But Hurts definitely did. Yes. That play didn't work out, but that doesn't mean we can excuse the fact that he just didn't throw the ball away and he literally threw it at
you can't excuse that. No, you can't excuse that. No excuse for that.
And that's the thing. No one is excusing anything that Hurts. And that's another thing. We all watched the game. So unless you're blind, you saw the 3 interceptions. We saw that. my thing is, okay, you're saying that, right? And then to circle it back around to the Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers things. Guess what those two had in common? One of them
People
had
made plays on their offense.
right. One of them had a dominant defense, right? Which the Ravens did. So it allowed them to stay. If their quarterback wasn't great, it allowed them to stay in the games every game in his rookie year. Then you look up to Green Bay, right? He already had an 1,000-yard running back behind him, 2 1,000-yard receivers on both sides of him in 2008. So in reality, what are we really asking Hurts to do? You know what I'm saying?
You said, Derek, you can't get accomplishments. You know what? That could have been a game-winning drive, but it's not a game-winning drive because of drops in the end zone.
Right, and a fumble because they were driving back down.
They were driving down the field when Boston Scott fumbled.
So I mean,
and then you watch something like you watch Tom Brady. Tom Brady gets credit for another game-winning drive yesterday when Fournette carried the ball 75 yards.
Right, we live in a culture now where everything is about instant gratification and about what can I get right now? And guess what? When folks and fans can't get what they want right now, this is what you get. Because those same fans last week were saying, "Oh, he's the man. Hurts is good." You know what I'm saying?
He's our future. Hurts was our future last week.
Say nothing about. They wasn't mentioning any of that. Now it's always horrible again. So pick a side.
Yeah, you either want him here or you want him gone.
Whatever it is.
And at the end of the day, Hurts is coming back next year.
Yeah.
Hurts is coming back next year. You know what I really want? I really want Hurts not to play, and I want Minshew to play, and because I don't think Minshew is that good. So I really want the Eagles
to stay solid.
Yeah, I think if I'm Hurts, I have my ankle issue. I'm icing that thing every single day. I'm doing exactly what I can to play. Because knowing Philly, if Gardner Minshew, granted, it's the Jets, but I feel like it doesn't matter who the opponent is. If Gardner Minshew goes out there and let's say Devante Smith has a 150-yard game, there is bombs that were connecting. It just looked clean in the passing game. You're going to have all of Philly, the radio, everybody just jumping to that saying, we have a backup quarterback complex, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but it is
the most popular guy on the team is the backup quarterback. Like, you know,
and the main thing I was like we said it last night, right? Our fans, we have world-class FBI inspectors as fans, and they can point out one problem and pinpoint it. And just once they hold on to one problem, they will never see anything else.
Yeah, and this is perfect right here. Everyone just needs to be patient with Hurts. I feel like I said before, he was thrown into an unfair situation,
right?
And has to go out and show out because now we have all these draft capital. We have some money next year. Like we have an opportunity to go trade for a veteran, to trade up in the draft to try to draft the quarterback. There was so much pressure on him that was unnecessary. And we've seen like signs that he can do this. He just needs to develop more. He needs to, I don't know if it's a developed thing or if it's like in your body, like the timing, anticipation throws. Maybe he'll develop that. Hopefully he does. But we just need to give him time and just build this team. You
know what it is? He has to have consistency as an offensive coordinator. Like we can't go out and run the ball 3 or 4 times, three weeks in a row. And in third and short, you run the ball third and 2 last week. We ran the ball on 3rd and 2. The week before on 3rd and 2, you run the ball. The week prior to that, 3rd and 2, you run the ball. And now you come out on 3rd and 2 yesterday and you run a slant to Quez Watkins, who's the 3rd or 4th receiver on the team. You're running slants to Jalen Reagor. If Jalen Reagor has to bail you out, your team is in bad shape.
Now, did it look like Hurts called that 4th and 2? Like he said, we'll stay.
No.
You don't think so? You don't think Hurts was like, we're going to run this, and he just bulleted that slant right off the rip, and it was off target as well. Like I said, I get it. It was a sloppy game from Hurts, and I know that we can keep talking about Hurts all day. I know you want to say one last thing. Go ahead and say it.
Run to the right. We were averaging 8.5 yards running off the between the guard tackle on the right side. You were averaging 8.5 yards yesterday.
They could have ran that ball 70 times, and the Giants would have not stopped them once.
And the Giants wouldn't have stopped it
at all. They didn't stop them one time running the ball. Everything they stopped
RPO
was like a 1 yard run, but they never had a negative run when they had
negative run. They weren't stuffing them in the backfield. They weren't doing anything that would have made me get away from the run yesterday
at all.
And it's crazy. Like, bro, they had 200 yards rushing and lost. And it's just I think it was to be honest, if we're being honest, I took the Giants yesterday. Because when I seen the spread was at 4.5, I know the Eagles aren't 7 points better than the Giants. The Eagles and Giants, they play each other tough no matter how bad the teams are, number one. Number two, the Eagles aren't 7 points better than anybody in the NFL right now. So you figure if you're the road team and you're given 4 on the road, that means if the game was in Philly, they expected the Eagles to win by 7, which I knew wouldn't happen. I've also been an Eagles fan my whole life, so I know that once the Eagles get things going and getting us believing that they're actually a legitimate football team, they usually shit the bed. So that being said, I took the Giants with the points yesterday. And then in watching the game over, I didn't get to go back and watch it like I normally do because I was kind of busy at work, and I didn't take lunch today. But there are several, like Driscoll. Not Driscoll. Who's 67?
Herbert.
Herbert. Oh, that dude held. It was really, really bad holding. It was unnecessary holding that took a touchdown off the board.
Yep.
Really unnecessary hold that took the touchdown off the board.
Hurts had like a long run.
Yeah, and then he had the Hurts run and the Boston Scott run. He had already turned his guy and silt his guy, but the guy's reaching and you put your hand across his chest. They're going to call that 9 out of 10 times in the NFL. I also do believe that the defensive line, the Giants' offensive line got away with a lot of holding yesterday. But I'm not going to blame it on the refs. I'm going to say Sirianni regressed. I'm going to say Rager is who we thought he was. I've been defending him for a long time, but he is Aguilar 2.0. He is Aguilar 2.0. Maybe we need to move on from him on the outside. Let Quez go on the outside, see if we can get something out of him in the slot. And then Boston Scott, who doesn't have fumble issues, the Giants just made a play right there. Like, you just chalk it up. Someday it's not your day. And offensively, it just wasn't our day yesterday. But the play calling didn't help it. Also, I believe that we ran into something different with Freddie Kitchens calling plays. Like, I think Freddie Kitchens calling plays was way different than Jason Garrett calling plays. But the defense held it down. Like, the defense played ball.
Gave us a chance to win. They only held them to 13 points.
13 points.
13
points.
Now, I know we've been talking, just like, I want to take it to the top. Take it to the top, and that's Howie Roseman. We complain about who he's been drafting, and, I mean, at least this year so far, Devante Smith, that's a hit. Landon Dickerson, we were all kind of like, oh, we could have used a corner there, yada, yada, yada. He's been starting basically all season and playing well. So that was smart.
We haven't heard his name since the second start. And then when you're a lineman, if we don't hear your name, that means you're doing your job.
Exactly. So obviously we've missed our wide receiver the last 2 years outside of Devante Smith with Jalen Rager and JJ Arcega-Whiteside, aka the block god.
He's the number 1 rated wide receiving blocker.
Now, but do you guys think if we keep these 3 first-round picks where I want to go defense in all the first round, could you see us dabbling again and drafting another wide receiver?
No. And the reason I say that is because I don't see it because of the fact that now they have the cap space to go get one. They do. They'll have the cap space to get one this this winter. So I don't think they'll draft one. I think they're going to get a veteran, a real good veteran out there that get that place, make that happen. And so I don't see that happening. I just don't.
I hear that.
I would prefer. I would prefer. Honestly, I would prefer that you go get a vet, and not another, like, because we missed. Like, you got to think we missed, and I think, like, I would have wished, like I said this a while back in our chat, I wish we could have somehow gotten Odell here for just 7 games, just to see how Hurts would have looked with an actual legitimate talent at wide receiver for 7 games. Like, even if they, but I think in the draft you have to go D-line. You have to address Fletcher's getting long in the tooth. If you're going to keep Slay, I don't think Nelson is necessarily the answer across from Slay. You locked up Maddox. I think you go D tackle, D in, because you're going to get rid of Barnett. Hopefully you don't bring him back. And Graham's old, so I think you go D in, D tackle, cornerback, or linebacker. I would spend if we keep all 3. There's a kid from Cincinnati. The corner from Cincinnati is amazing.
Yeah.
There's a D lineman at Texas A&M that I like. So I would just address the defense and then address the offense with free agency.
Now, someone else that's also going to need a contract, and who I've drafted almost every year in fantasy, either in the first or second round, and he's not panned out, and I feel like his ankles are made of glass. His ankles hurt all the time, and that's Miles Sanders. Do you see a guy like Miles Sanders coming back? Because when I watch even Boston Scott go in, it looks like he runs harder than Miles. It looks like he does more. Yes, Miles can go for the home run. We've all seen it in a couple of games. But how many home runs does he really have? What has he really done to prove that he deserves an extension on this team, rather than us just going out and getting either another running back, or maybe even if Jordan Howard could stay healthy? I mean, he looked better than Miles Sanders. I mean, what's your guys' opinion on Miles?
I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm gonna give you 2 words. Got to stop all that. Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman drafted him, right?
Yeah.
He drafted Miles Sanders. End of story. There's your answer. He's gonna be here. There's nothing else really. You know what I mean? Like, you can say, he bounces out of the hole. We all know these things, but he was a Howie pick. He was a high Howie pick in the second round, just like JJ was, right? He's still here 4 years later, 3 years later, right? Rieger's going to be here. Even though when you want him, he's going to be here another year and a half. So
he's an amazing run blocker.
Yeah, but they're going to be here. So that's it right there.
Miles is here. Miles is here to stay. So the free agent, I'm looking at the free agents. Allen Robinson. I would love to have Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
Chris Godwin is a free agent. Devontae Adams is a free agent. Juju Schuster, Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green, Mike Williams, Antonio Brown, T.Y. Hilton, Jamison Crowder.
Real quick, I want to address this. I just saw this comment come by saying that Eagle has landed. You guys under the impression that they are committed to Hurts. They are not. They want to see what he can do with his arm, developing him as secondary in their mind. Well, we're not gonna go back and forth, but Hurts is here next year, whether you like it or not. So you got to deal with that. And the way
the number 1 jersey,
the way it is, and the way these quarterbacks are set up in this year's draft now, one just entered the transfer.
The number one pick just entered the transfer portal.
Right. So you got to kill that. I get what you're saying, but kind of just Eagles
buy your Hurts jersey because he's here for another year.
Eagles has landed. Go ahead and take off again.
Yeah, because Spencer Rattler, the number 1 pick going into this year, will probably be playing quarterback at USC next year.
Right.
Secondly, Hurts dropped 2 dimes on Rager, both of which Rager held to come down with.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we not getting ready to do this. If his arm shaky, you don't need to be able to throw a perfect deep ball. I mean, Drew Brees had a career of 35. Drew Brees played for 20 years without being able to throw a perfect deep ball. The question, Jalen might have threw some interceptions, but we're talking about the wrong Jalen today. Like, it's not that Jalen can't throw, it's that Jalen threw to the Jalen that can't catch.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real. Like, Jalen threw a strike to Jalen, who let it hit his face mask. Jalen threw a strike to Jalen, who dropped the ball in the end zone.
Yeah.
Like, the kid doesn't quit, and that's what I like. He fights.
Those are catches you make out in the street playing street football.
Bruh.
Facts.
Freddie Mitchell would have caught that.
So
Freddie Mitchell, Aguilar would have caught one of them.
one.
We out here catching babies, unlike Aguilar.
Hey, you know what? I would have. You could have gave Greg Ward a second chance, and I guarantee.
Yeah, Greg Ward, right?
Greg would have came down with that second one.
Bruh.
Yeah. I know we spent a lot of time on the offense and Jalen Hurts and Jalen Reagor and everything, and it's kind of hard to really talk about a defense that overall played well. Overall, held the team to 13 points, didn't allow giant plays really. But there was one point in the game in the fourth quarter where they did let the Giants drive downfield and like eat up like at least 6-7 minutes off the clock. And I've seen this happen before too. We saw it with the Chargers and we've seen it with other teams. Does that aspect of late game where we can't get a pass rush going or anything like that, that we're letting these teams have these long drives to kill the clock, does that concern you guys at all?
I mean, I'll take this one first. It didn't concern me because of the time in the game where they let me wait a minute. Let me go back to this.
Here he go with his bull.
Y'all are giving Hurts far too much leeway. Well, I would say to that, hey man, if you can count on your hands, right? Hurts is one. So there are 10 other guys on the field, right? Let's hear about those guys. Thank you. But next, back to
Boston Scott. Did Hurts make Boston Scott fumble?
No comment.
Did Hurts make Herbert hold and call back the touchdown?
Hey,
did Hurts make Reagor drop those passes yesterday?
Wait a minute.
Come on. You know what? Because
did that bubble come up last week? Hey, I'm just asking. Did that bubble come up last week or the week before that?
Because if Reagor catches that pass, he don't say a word about. He's hyped that we beat the Giants. If Reagor catches that pass, we don't have to hear about how horrible Hurts is. He's the biggest Hurts hater.
We haven't seen that. We were giving Hurts too much credit bubble the last 4 weeks. That bubble only pops up. That bubble only pops up when Hurts is bad. When he thinks, you know what I'm saying, when they win, that bubble never pops up. Because what was the name? Hey, time out. What was the name of the show last week? What did he say? My guy is he's changing my mind. What he said. But I'll sit back.
Woo! Listen, Boston Scott fumbled the game away. Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions, and we were still in the game. Jalen Reagor, that's a testament because the kid doesn't quit. He doesn't quit. He came out there like, hey, we can go get this dub. I'm going to drive us downfield. And Boston Scott fumbled. Then, with the game on the line,
hey, how about this? Just say that Hurts is all you look at. Just say that. But bingo. That's what he see what he said. Then he played trash again. So
with the game on the line, Jalen Hurts stepped up and threw a strike.
Yeah, either you in or you out. If like remember how your grandma would say if you outside playing,
don't keep walking back inside out my house, boy.
Right,
either you.
He's the kid that kept walking in and out of his grandma's house. He told his ass to stay outside. You know what I'm saying? Joe, by the way, subscribe to Philly the podcast.
Like and subscribe. I wish he was on here right now.
Stay his ass on the porch.
With the game on the line, even after throwing 3 interceptions, he stepped up in the pocket and he threw a strike to Rager, right?
Right.
Hit him in the face mask. That if Rager comes down with that, we're not having this conversation right now. Exactly. Rager dropped it. Guess what he did? He went back to the huddle and told him, shake it off, because I'm going to come back to you.
Right. And he did. And what was
went back to him. Hey, guess what? Man. If Hurts doesn't throw those 3 picks, you're absolutely right. But if the coach actually calls a legitimate running play when you're averaging 5.7 yards a carry instead of putting your second-year guy,
excuses for a man
instead of putting your second-year guy, rolling him out. Like, first off, you rolled him to the right, you cut off half the field. So I hate the rollout at the goal line because you take away half the field. We've had this conversation several times. So you're taking a guy who's in his 25th start and you're rolling him to the right. You're taking away half his options. The Giants instantly capitalized on that. Thank you. Lamar threw 4 picks and still won, but that's another. I'm going to get back to that. So you rolled him to the right, and maybe he panicked just a touch, and he tried to force it in instead of throwing it away. That's inexcusable, but he's still a young kid. You play football your whole life. You know to throw the ball away. But maybe, shit happens. He made a mistake.
Right.
It was poor play calling, but I'm not going to blame it all on play calling. There's no excuse for Haaland. I already said that, Joe. I said that already. There's no excuse, but you didn't run when you needed to. You're supposed to run on 3rd and 2. You're supposed to run the ball.
Right. Play sequencing. That's if you really study the game.
3rd and 2, you're supposed to run the ball when you average 5 yards.
Play sequence.
You're averaging 5.5 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders had 6 for 8. Miles Sanders had 8 for 60. Boston Scott had 6 for 45. Jalen Hurts had 5 for 30. Why are you not running the ball on 3rd and 2?
Right.
Why are you not running the ball?
Common sense tells you that. Common sense logic
exactly, Drew.
Tells you that.
Drew, that's why you won a battle. That's why you won that battle, Drew, because you got common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
Drew got common sense.
Basic common sense. It's
not run the ball every play.
And I'm not trying to equate that to the Madden. If it's 3rd and 1, or if it's 30 inches, you're gonna go play action on a 3rd and 1.
Okay. Let me ask y'all run the ball every time, guys. Philly's best receiver is Devante Smith. Where does he rank anywhere in the top 10 in anything as far as a wide receiver?
Blocking.
Yeah, we got the best blocking receivers in the league. Our receivers ain't top 10. Like, I don't trust our receivers one-on-one. I don't trust our receivers one-on-one. I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't. On 3rd and 1, I prefer to run the ball. Hey, we were so predictable. So predictable. We averaged 5.6 yards a carry, and we gashed them every time we ran to the right.
If you can't stop something, let me put it to you like this: if something isn't broke, right? Common sense. We hear this. You heard it in school. You hear it in your house. If it's not broke, then why fix it?
Right. And it's not even about, like, we're not saying run the ball 50 times a game. Right. It's about when he chose to run. I think, like, 16 of those 30, if I'm not mistaken, the broadcast was like, that's their 16th run in a row. Like, that's different than going ahead and running the ball on, like, a 3rd and 2, a 4th and 2. If you're going to do an RPO, do it on the 4th and 2. They're either going to they're not going to stop us. They didn't all game.
They couldn't stop.
Not once. They didn't stop them. They didn't stop them in the backfield one time. Every time they ran the ball, they got at least a yard.
There was no negative carry at all yesterday.
But because it's not
on 3rd and 2,
but because the style doesn't fit what your narrative is, then it's a problem. I don't care what they do. The name of the game.
I just want to win. Win.
Get the W. That's all.
I don't care if you run the ball 59 times.
They don't play you to lose.
You run the ball 59 times and we win. Right.
They don't pay you based off losses, Jack. That's a fact.
They be like, oh, that loss. Oh, it was cute. He threw for. Guess what? Tom Brady threw for 500 yards in the Super Bowl, and guess what he went home with?
And there's been plenty of games. Tom is thrown for 165 to 70 yards and came
and
along
won.
and won.
Came with a win.
Yeah, so let's not act brand new at all.
I mean, at the end of the day, we can get critical of our quarterback, but
yes,
he's going to be there. He is. You can still rock with him. I get annoyed by the comments like, I don't think he's the guy. He's not the guy. Yada yada. It's like, bro, he can have a bad game. We've seen all quarterbacks, all 32, that have had bad games at some point. It's a learning.
And guess what? When we had the guy and he had a bad game, they ran his ass to Indianapolis.
I mean, sometimes a lot of people defend
on a Greyhound. On a Greyhound too. That joker left on a Greyhound and never came back.
We had the guy and he had a bad game, and y'all ran him, and then they ran him out of town too. Jesus could quarterback the Eagles,
and people
and the Eagles fans would find, and the Eagles fans would find a reason to the Eagles would find a way to hate Jesus. Like, it's cool. Like, they threw snowballs at Santa. They ran Carson Wentz out of town. Exactly. The problem, Drew, that's exactly what I said on the other podcast. Shout out to Devil Rose Sports. Sirianni doesn't have an identity. He tried to reinvent the wheel. He's an idiot. He's an idiot.
Right.
He's an idiot. I think I think Justin Fields is going to be fine, because I think his coaches get ready to leave Ohio State to take that Bears job.
And let me answer this question real quick for Joe, because he put out something that it is a valid point. He said he was concerned. Everyone puts out this word, the narrative, and people don't know what the narrative is. Let me tell you. Let me give you a classic number one example. Right, we're gonna go back to it. Lamar Jackson. Right, what Lamar isn't the classic the classic
drop back passer.
Passer. Right, so he can't perform. He can't win games. That there is your classic example of a narrative, because that is not true. Because we just saw the guy win the MVP. He didn't win his first. He didn't have a lot of success in the playoffs, but he just won his first playoff game last year, right? So the narrative is that the guy, you need to be a drop back passer, a classic drop back passer, to be great, and that's just not true. That's a narrative. And that's a media-driven narrative. Right. And guess what? The fans and the other media types, I'm not saying Joe, because Joe doesn't definitely do that, but they take that and they run with it as its gospel. Therefore, here's your classic example and definition of a narrative. Something is media-driven, but not driven by actual facts to support them. It's just biased opinions. There's your narrative.
It's all right. Joseph, he's an overall quarterback hater. He's not here to defend himself, so I'm going to talk a little junk about him. No, I'm just kidding. But
that's my guy.
Before we get out of here, let's preview a little bit about this Jets game. It is the Jets, but it seems like Hurts does have a bummed ankle. We did lose Driscoll. If Gardner Minshew has to play, I'm a little worried. What are you guys' thoughts about this Jets game coming up?
Where's Brandon Brooks?
Yes.
Yeah. Who knows?
I was about to say the same thing. Like, where is he? The other thing is,
where's Brandon Brooks? That man got hella sick days.
The other thing is,
that dude has made millions on the bench. That's crazy.
For the sake, for the mental stability of the rest of the Eagles fans, just don't lose this game, because I'm really tired of hearing all the extra stupid.
Bruh, if we lose to the Jets.
I just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, people understand, like, me and Marv been really, like, on this, you know what I'm saying? And you two, Brandon and Joe, man, it's like, it's like the patience of our fan base when you knew what this team was off top, when it was hot outside. You knew. And all of a sudden, everyone was brand new. Nah, man, miss me with that. It
was a 6-win rebuild, right? It was a 6-win rebuild. We got 5 wins right now.
It was a 6-win rebuild up until that Falcons game. Once we got that Falcons game and we annihilated them, everyone, it was amnesia. Everyone forgot that we were.
Everybody forgot, but we kept it real. Like, we knew what it was. Like, let's be real. What are they? 5-8, 5-8, 5-7. So.
5-7.
Okay, so 5-7, I think. Right. So the 49ers game we should have won.
Right.
The 49ers game is the one game that if you go back and look at the season so far, it's two, and then this is that loss hurt, and then this loss hurts.
Right.
We're literally two plays. We're literally like, and then you can go back like, but the Chargers game we couldn't get a stop on defense. Herbert was 16 for 16 against the zone. The Raiders game, if you never seen football before, you would have thought Derek Carr was the best quarterback to ever play football. And then the Cowboys game, they just annihilated. So those 3 games you lose. The Tampa game wasn't as close as it seemed because I think Tampa kind of took their foot off the gas. So those 4 losses are 4 legitimate losses. But the 49ers game is no way you throw a 98-yard completion and you get no points out of that drive.
No.
You score there and you win the game. You score there, you win the game.
Right. So
Then this Giants game, you have 4 turnovers, 2 in the red zone, 1 when you're driving, and then you have 3 drops in the end zone. You're literally 2 drives. You're literally 2 plays away because if Greg Ward catches that ball, the Eagles win the game yesterday. And then if you don't run 4 dumbass plays in the end zone against the 49ers, you're sitting at 7-5 in the rebuilding year.
And the reality of it is they are a 5-17. They are what the record.
Who we thought they are. Playoffs.
They are what their record says they are, and that's what the fans need to wrap their heads around. They are what they are. Deal with it.
Right.
Hey,
When did we become the New England Patriots? Like, I don't get it. Like,
we became the Browns in 48 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Eagles fans are the worst, bro.
Yeah.
It's that glimmer of hope, man. We might not be the Patriots, but the Eagles low-key do have at least some consistency at times. We might have a bad season here or there, but we haven't had back-to-back bad seasons. And so with this season, it's like we knew it was going to be bad, but then there's just that hope that, if we went out, we could get that wild card spot now.
Yeah, we still can. And we still can.
Do you want to be the Vikings?
Do you want to be the Vikings? Or this is what I'm about to say. As Eagles fans, like you said, and I asked Black this. I said, I might ask it in our chat too. I said, I look at the Ravens, right? The Ravens have 2 Super Bowls in the last 20 years. But they've also had some 4-12 seasons in between those 2 Super Bowls.
And I'm down here. So
would you rather have your 4-12 seasons and your 8-8 seasons, and you win a Super Bowl and you have a 4-12, an 8-8, a 10-6, wild card get bumped out, and then that leads to another Super Bowl? Or would you constantly be 11-5, 12-4, but still not win a Super Bowl? We've been the team that's 13-3, 12-4, 11-5, and come up short all the time. We've been spoiled the last one. Andy Reid is arguably a top 5 coach of all time, and Andy Reid did a wonderful job here.
Yeah. And
we ran him out. I mean, sometimes you have to move on, but we got Andy out of here, but we don't realize how spoiled we were with Andy. Like, right. Andy might not have won the big game here, but you know what? Our season wasn't over before Halloween either when Andy was here. Like, we knew come November, December, our team was playing meaningful football under Andy Reid. So, and we gotten used to being able to, look forward to, in December, we circle this date, we playing the Cowboys for the division on this date, or we're playing the Giants for this division on this date.
Right.
But that didn't lead to a Lombardi.
Right.
So if I have to suffer through a 4-12 or a 6-10, but it's trending back up the right way,
right,
I'm going to sit my ass down and watch this team develop and not be foolish. I mean, it's rough to be a Philadelphia sports fan right now.
It is.
Ben Simmons ain't showing up. We done went through the process and had a glimmer of hope. Now when Sixers are 500, but Maxi's developing. The Flyers have been asked forever You got the MVP of the league. Everybody signing players all around baseball. The Phillies ain't spent a dime. So, I mean, it's rough being a Phillies fan, but come on, man. Like, we got to have patience, man. This ain't
right. And some
got to be patient.
common sense. Please, just
Sixers ain't won since '83.
Yeah, just relax.
Flyers ain't won since the '70s.
Sometimes you have to learn to, I had learned this when I've been in the military, right? Sometimes you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's the reality. So what are you going to do? Keep whining about it, or are you?
My reality every day,
right? And sit there and just take in what you're seeing, and then make factual opinions based off of that. That's what you do.
Right. So moral of the story, sit tight, guys. We got some developing to do. We got a bunch of young guys. I mean, we got 2 rookies starting on offense, a quarterback that's essentially in his in between awkward rookie and sophomore season.
Sophomore year. And that's when people and you gotta understand, buy your Jalen Hurts jersey. But what people don't realize, and even in all the sports, if you watch, the jump is always between your second and third years when players make their jump. The player who a player is going to be, it might show, you might see flashes of what a player is going to be in their first and second year. But that third year, they make a little jump and show you who they're actually going to be. So this kid's 26 starts in. That's not 2 full seasons. I think he can do it. I love his attitude. He doesn't quit. Like a kid, like, you got to think, a kid who isn't promised a starting job next year threw 3 interceptions in the first half. Came back out, threw 2 interceptions in the first, because he threw the third one in the second half.
Right. Yeah, I think like.
But the first drive. He played his worst half of football yesterday. Came back out in the first drive and threw an interception. And guess what he did the rest of the game? Put his offense in position to win the game. That kid doesn't quit. And I believe if we actually had some quarterback coach to develop him, I believe if we had somebody to an offensive coordinator that understood, like, I get that you want to reinvent the wheel, but this is I hate when coaching staffs hire these young coaches and they don't hire anyone old.
Where's Dwayne Haskins?
Say, hey. Huh?
Where's Dwayne Haskins?
3rd string in Pittsburgh.
Picked 16, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Second.
Yeah, I know what you was getting at. They said he didn't even warm up correctly when Mason Rudolph was starting. They was on him about how he warmed up. Like,
he missed practice.
I mean,
let me tell you something. I know for a fact that boy missed practice. He was at Lucky Strike with his girl.
Drinking. And you got a kid that's actually putting in work. Like, it could be so much worse, Philadelphia. It could be so much worse. Joe Flacco could be our starting quarterback.
Yeah.
It could be so much worse. You got a kid who's dedicated. And like you said, you don't believe this kid is a franchise quarterback. I think it depends on what
he's not right now.
Your definition of he's not. But it depends on what your definition of a franchise quarterback is. Because was Lamar Jackson a franchise quarterback coming out of college? Huh?
They thought he was a running back.
Call him a receiver.
Aaron Rodgers. Alex Smith got drafted over Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, you know what you have at quarterback. Can he win a Super Bowl? I believe so, but he has to have the right pieces around him.
Right.
I'm not saying he's a Pat Mahomes. I'm not saying he's a Alex Smith. I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow. I'm just saying he has traits, and his work ethic and attitude lead me to believe that he should be the guy for at least he should play his contract out there.
Facts. The fact that he gets the people to listen to him and he is that natural leader, that's stuff you can't coach, and that's something you
can't coach that
in an NFL locker room. You need a bona fide leader, and that's what we've been missing. I mean, I feel like we've been missing that since Malcolm Jenkins left the locker room. So it's great that the young quarterback not a different position player, is the leader of the team. Now, that seems like a solid place to leave off. Any final words for you guys, for the people watching?
Yeah. The last thing I need to say is piggyback off what you just said. Imagine if Hurts leaves this locker room with the young guys that are in it right now who are all following him. What type of message does that send to the rest of the locker room for the guys that are going to be remaining here? The young guys. Think about that. That's it.
Disrupt it completely.
Yep. Think about that. Y'all have a good night.
Y'all blaming the wrong Jalen. if the other Jalen actually catches the ball, which is his job, we're not having this conversation. If Boston Scott don't fumble, we're not having this conversation. Be harsh on your quarterback, but we watched an MVP of the league throw 4 interceptions, and his offensive Mark Andrews made plays at the end of the game, and they won the game. Where was Dallas Goedert? Dallas Goedert had 1 catch for 0 yards yesterday. So, like, there's a lot of blame to go around. We're blamed, but if we're sending the blame, both Jalens deserve some. But the Jalen who wears 1-8 deserves way more than the Jalen who wears number 1. And I just want y'all, like, we know how y'all doing Philly. We know what's up and down, and we know that y'all hate him this week, and Joe will love him next week when he throws for 300 yards and runs for 76 against the Jets.
Make sure
so we know how Castro's going to do. Make sure the bubble come up next week when we doing this. But, just keep the faith. We're going to make the playoff push, and maybe we sneak in. We got the Jets, Giants, Skins twice, and the Cowboys. So anything is possible. Keep the faith. And thank y'all for tuning in. Shout out to Devereaux Sports for having me on earlier. And my guy Brandon for holding us down tonight. Joe's mad and being a hater.
Subscribe to the Philly podcast. Don't forget.
Subscribe to Philly podcast. I'm buying him a Hurt shirt. For Christmas. But thank y'all for rocking with us. We appreciate y'all.
Hey, don't sleep. He does have that Hurt season hat from Lord Bart Brunson. So I've seen him rocking it. He's a low-key Hurts fan. But yeah, like they said, if you guys are new here, make sure you guys subscribe. Everyone in here, make sure you guys like this video. Till next time, fly Eagles fly.
Go Birds.
Yes, sir.
B. Scott with the Philadelphia
John
Eagles.
Dornbos here of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, we're just the Philadelphia Eagles.
Follow my guy Joe Castro on his YouTube/podcast channel.
Let's give a shout out to the Philly podcast.
And shout out Philly and my guy Joe Castro. So keep on doing great things, guys. Fly Eagles fly.
Fly Eagles fly.
Go Birds.